Some people say that this is a movie with poison. When you watch it carefully, you will find that it is actually a mountain of gold. The film is based on true events. A great father, by training his own daughter to become a wrestler, actually rewrite the destiny of millions of women in India. Those blood-curdling scenes break the prejudice in people's minds so that countless Indian women have the courage to pursue their own values. And the extraordinary father is, with his own words and teachings, touch the lives of countless families. Singh was a good wrestler and won the Indian national championships, but the medals could not feed him, and he had to give up wrestling too, so make ends meet. He looked at the honors he had achieved and was overwhelmed with emotion and regret that he had not been able to win a gold medal for his country. So he put his hopes on his son, who he believed would follow in his footsteps and become a world champion. The day his wife went into labor, Singh fidgeted outside the door, and soon the sound of the baby's cries came from inside. She was very disappointed by this result, so she learned a lot of ways to have a son from other people. And when the second child was born, everyone came to test their own methods, and the result was still a daughter. However, she did not give up on her plan to have a son, but it seemed that God was playing a joke on her. In the next few years, her wife gave birth to 2 daughters in a row, and eventually, Stargate became discouraged and not only gave up on the idea of a son, but also sealed her dream of wrestling completely. One day after that, Singh returned home as usual, but found that the neighbors brought their children to ask for punishment. It turned out that their son was beaten up by Singh's 2 daughters. Their daughters rushed to explain to their father that it was the boys who had started the fight. Afterwards, Singh did not get angry, but also looked curious and asked about the process of the fight. The 2 daughters covered up the fight on the spot at the same time. He saw his daughter's talent for wrestling and realized that his daughters also had his own blood flowing in their bodies. Singh instantly realized that winning the gold medal did not necessarily depend on the boys, but his mother was worried that the daughters' studies. Besides, girls will be criticized for wrestling, so Sinde promised his wife to give him a year to train his daughters. If nothing came of it, he would say goodbye to wrestling for good. The next day, Sinde let his daughters enjoy their favorite food for the last time. From then on, Geeta and Babita began a rigorous training program. Every day, they had to get up at 5 o'clock for a run and change into men's clothes for ease of movement to do all kinds of high-intensity physical training. Because the village's wrestling ring did not allow the girls to enter, Sinde built one on his own. Because the village wrestling ring does not allow girls to enter the Stargate, built her own in the field in order to provide her daughters with a kayata partner for training. She also found her nephew. But after all, the strength of girls is still relatively poorer. Her daughters by the nephew easily fell to the ground at night. Stargate will also quietly come to her daughter's room, heartbreakingly massaging their legs, coaching, and fatherhood. She can only choose one in her heart of hearts, even if she had a lot of reluctance. She had no choice but to be a strict coaching. In order to strengthen their muscle strength, Singh personally made muscle food for his daughters, a series of practices that also attracted the comments and ridicule of the whole village. People think that the kitchen is the only place where they can make their daughters muscles. The wife was also worried that her daughter would not be able to get married in the future. However, in Star's opinion, the only way to prevent them from being picked up was to raise his daughters to be even better. The sisters could not accept their father's approach, and the students at school were laughing at the sisters. They tried to avoid the training by saying that their hair was too long and would give birth to lions. Unexpectedly, the next day their father found someone to cut their hair. No matter how much the sisters begged for help, their father did nothing. No matter how much they begged their father, the poor sisters once again became the laughing stock of others. So they decided to challenge this authoritarian father in the middle of the night to secretly change their father's alarm clock in the evening, to use water to break the light bulbs in the training ground, and occasionally pretend to be injured. And even in the training on purpose to lose to their brother, Xingja. Although, they found that not quite right, but there is nothing to be done that day. The sisters avoided the training to go to the classmates of the wedding of the Xingja found out about it. Xingja was very angry. She came to the wedding site to teach the 2 sisters a lesson wedding ceremony. And the 2 sisters were very angry. After the wedding, the sisters sat in the bride's room and complained about their father, but the bride envied them for having such a father. This is true of almost every Indian woman. They can't control their own destiny, as if they could see the future from the moment they were born. And the sisters' father was looking out for their future, putting up with ridicule and taunts and even fighting the world for them. This is a father who truly loves his children. Father who really loves his children. They began to take the initiative to fulfill their father's dream, even practicing their grip strength during classes, seeing the results of their training. Singh took his daughters to a wrestling tournament. The organizers mocked Singh and his daughters when they heard that the name of the participant was a girl. But then they agreed to let Geeta participate in the tournament in order to make the tournament a big seller. This news attracted a huge crowd along with all the mockery. They all wanted to see how the female wrestler would be torn apart by her opponent. And Geeta chose the strongest of them all, which drew a lot of laughs from the audience and the fathers. He believed in his daughter more than he believed in himself, and in the first round of the match, Guitar took the lead and pushed his opponent out of the ring, and his opponent took it seriously. After a few rounds, Geeta finally lost the match against his opponent, but his performance won him a round of applause from everyone in. The audience. Although he lost the match, it also aroused the desire to win in Geeta's heart. And next time, he began to participate in the match again and again, and his male opponents were all beaten by him. One by one, he fell to his feet and won trophy after trophy. His eyes became mature and delicate. The two sisters continued to win and gained respect for their actions. The ridicule and accusations of the past faded away. They gradually became famous in the village and at school. Soon, Geeta had reached the level of a helper, and his father began to train them to participate in official wrestling matches because there was no one else to train them to wrestle. To buy professional wrestling mats, Star spread mattresses on the roof of the house to train the sisters to explain the scoring techniques of the official matches. The hardest part of the tournament was the rainbow-like Guo Jianshui, but was able to win 5 points at a time. Soon, Geeta participated in the National Junior Wrestling Championships in the tournament. She was invincible all the time. She had been fighting with the male competitors. Geeta easily beat these female competitors to win the championships. After this, Geeta was even more successful along the way, from the youth championships to the adult division, and from the adult intermediate division to the senior division. His father was also from the middle to old age. He also finally took his father to the national championships. After that, Geeta went from youth to adult and from intermediate to senior. While her father was also in his old age, Geeta won the national championship and returned to her hometown with the honor of becoming the pride of her village. However, Singh's expectations for his daughter were much more than that. His ultimate goal was to win an Olympic gold medal. In order to achieve this goal, he sent Geeta to the National Institute of Physical Education. He thought he could receive professional training here, but the coaches here didn't agree with Singh's training methods, and Geeta got lost in the school's culture. She was attracted to the glamour of the big city. She also grew her hair long for the boys she liked, and when she came home next term, she taught her sister the new techniques she had learned, which caused her father's displeasure. She demonstrated them to him, but he threw her down in order to prove to him that the new techniques she had learned were more effective, so the two of them had a fight, and it turned out that Stargate had been beaten by her own daughter. In fact, her father was just getting older and his techniques were not outdated. But Geeta didn't realize that, and she left home with the pride of having beaten her father to compete in the Sydney Wells tournament. With the pride of beating her father, she left home to compete in the Sydney City tournament. Singh was upset and worried. She seemed to have predicted the outcome of the tournament, and sure enough, Geeta was defeated in the city tournament, and her younger sister, Babita, under her father's training, managed to win the national championship. Of course, like her sister, she will also be trained in the National School of Sports. Singh pleaded with his daughter not to be like her sister and to remember how she got there. In school, she sees her sister as a complete mess. She didn't get up as much as she used to and lost the world championships without any sadness or frustration, and without any will to fight. She didn't pay any attention to her sister's advice as expected. Geeta lost the world championships several times in a row. The continuous defeats made her start to lose her mind and doubt herself. And even her coach said that the coach's words were a fatal blow to her sister, who couldn't bear to see her sister in such a bad state, suggested that she call her father and talk to him. Although Geeta couldn't face seeing her father, she finally got on the phone and the two of them made peace with each other. Geeta also cut her hair and got back on her feet. In order to make her daughter's skills more comprehensive, Singh rented a house near the school and let the two daughters come out at 5 a.m. every day to train with them individually. However, soon after, this was reported by a fellow student and the coach reported the matter to the head of the school. The two sisters were expelled from school. Singh prayed for forgiveness with tears in his eyes. He did all this in the hope that his daughters would win gold medals for their country. The school authorities were shocked by Singh's behavior. Sincerely touched, he finally decided to give the sisters another chance on the condition that Star would no longer train them secretly. But Star did not give up on the chance to help his daughter. He asked Geeta to send the video of his previous matches. He packed a movie theater to watch them and analyzed in detail the reasons for Geeta's failures, and then over the phone he asked Geeta to watch the video while explaining it to him soon enough. Geeta was able to get a great deal of practice, and finally it was time to go to the Olympics, where competitors from 72 countries and regions all over the world were gathered. Geeta was once again at the world level, but his previous failures had made him very nervous, and he fell short in the first round. The day of the Olympics came when competitors from 72 countries and territories gathered together. Geeta was once again in the world-class arena, but his previous defeat had made him very nervous, and he was trailing by a huge margin in the first round. Just when everyone thought that Geeta was going to lose, he heard his father's words of encouragement from the stage. Geeta used the skills that his father had taught him, and eventually he was able to turn the tide and win the game. But then Geeta faced a really tough opponent. His father, who has always been a fan of offense, told Geeta to stay on the defensive and wait for his opponent to get impatient and then seize the opportunity to beat him. On the other hand, his coach, who has always been conservative, told Geeta to stay on the offensive this time. From the tactics of the two men and the pressure from all sides, Geeta adopted his father's advice to adopt a defensive strategy. However, his opponent kept attacking and he still lost the first round. In the second round, his opponent obviously stepped up his attack, but Geeta did not give him any opportunity to tightly guard the other side of the attack. A watertight dissolved in the round, only 34 seconds left when the two sides are still 0-0. Geeta thought of his father's tactical planning. If the other side cannot attack, the scorer will be impatient to reveal the cracks. Sure enough, in the end of the round, Geeta found the other side of the attack to catch the cracks, seized the opportunity to make a comeback to win this round 3-0. To the third round of the two sides are still in a stalemate. The two sides were still locked in a stalemate until the end of the round. The score was still 0-0 according to the rules of the tournament. Next will be a coin toss to determine the outcome of the offense and defense. Geeta unfortunately became the defense side. Let the other side hold one of their own. If he could stop his opponent from scoring for 30 seconds, he would win the match. But this is a great test of a wrestler's stamina and skill, and his sister and father were sweating for him. Now he was just one step away from his dream and his father's dream. Soon it was the finals day. The careful coach, in order to prevent Star from instructing Geeta in the field of shooting, he took him away and locked him in a warehouse on the field of play. Geeta won the first round relatively smoothly, however. In the second round, the other team fought back to tie the score, frustrated. Geeta looked to his father's work, but there was a delay in seeing his father's figure because of fear of his father caused him to be a little distracted in the third round. Soon after, he was distracted by his father. Geeta was a little distracted, and in the third round, he was quickly taken over by his opponent, and the two fought until the final round when his opponent was only a point away from winning, and Geeta was 4 points behind his opponent, with only 2 seconds left to win the match unless there is a miracle at this moment. Geeta remembered her father's teachings. It's hard to score 5 points, but it's not impossible at the very last moment. As the time was running out, Geeta managed to get behind her opponent by using a fake move and hit a beautiful 5-point. Over-the-shoulder rainbow slam. Geeta finally pulled off a miracle at the very last minute and won the gold medal, becoming India's first women's wrestler to win a gold medal, while her father, who was locked up in a warehouse, was anxious until he heard his country's national anthem playing. His heart dropped, knowing that his daughter had won the championship. At this moment, he couldn't help but cry his eyes out. The father, who had been locked up in a warehouse, was anxious until he heard his country's national anthem, and his heart dropped as he realized that his daughter had won the championship. And then he burst into tears, having worked all his life for this day. When he was released, he came to the arena and looked at his daughter, who had won the championship. He finally said the words that had been buried in his heart all those years ago.